Welcome to the Wellness League podcast. I'm your host, Ella, and today my friend is Laura Newton. Laura competed on the first season of Australian Ninja Warrior and has gone on to do adventure racing all around the world. So, let's dive in. Alrighty, let's get started. Firstly, who are you?
I am Laura Newton.
So, what was your earliest memory of being fit?
It's a bit of a strange one because I think my earliest memory of being fit is when mum sort of threw me into nippers when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
That's probably the earliest memory I have. We literally jumped on a bus and then on a barge over to North Stradbroke Island, and she zinced me up, sunscreened me up, and then was like, just have a go. And I was a little 8-year-old and had a little noddy cap on and did like the swim, the board, the iron person, the flags and the beach sprints. And that first day over there, it was actually their club championship day.
Oh God, what a day to start.
It was my first time really doing a surf race. Yeah, I know. And I actually came in second and third and did really well. I didn't finish the board race. I think I had a bit of a meltdown because I'd never been on a board.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the memory that kind of sticks with me, where it was kind of like I went over really unsure and then did pretty good at it. So that's my first memory of going, I could kind of do stuff.
How many years did you do nippers for?
I'm still involved in surf lifesaving now, just as an award member. But I went all the way through, up till I was 18 when I went overseas and stuff. But yeah, as a nipper, obviously you do it from when I think you can start at the age of 7. Well, back then you can. I'm not sure if it's the same now. And yeah, just went up to the senior club, which you sort of start doing when you're 14 years old. So
yeah. Does it get more intense as you get older too?
Definitely, competition-wise, but it doesn't have to as well. Like I had heaps of friends that used to just love going over there and doing patrols and there's so many different competitions in surf lifesaving. I did a first aid competition. So
oh, wow.
If you're not a water rat, there's heaps of different, first aid competitions. There's heaps of training. There's patrol comps. There's IRB racing. There's surf boat rowing. There's so much involved in it. So
yeah. What was the highest that you got into competing in that, whether that it was your first aid or in the water?
A bit of everything. So I did champion lifesaver. So obviously went to state and national, within Australia. Never went overseas or anything back then to compete. But yeah, did really well. Got some state medals and got, I think, a couple of Australian medals as well. But yeah, champion lifesaver, did patrol comps, did really well in that, did first aid. And then obviously the water, being a water rat. So surf, swim. Yeah.
What was your favourite leg out of all of those?
I used to love patrol competitions because it's a team event and there's so much involved. They pretty much lock you in a room all day, and then when your team comes out, it's like a big scenario. So you can walk into, there can be a car wreck on the beach, but people drowning. So it's like working as a team and assessing the situation, and then, 2 people might be out in the boat doing rescues, like a mass rescue. Someone could be on the beach doing first aid. Missing child was often one that they'd throw in the mix as well.
Oh, wow.
But I loved the fact of having to work and respond as a team, and then the debriefing after. I think at a young age, you just learn so much doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, so pretty much like a fake Bondi rescue in the way for people who need the idea, the visualization.
100%. 100% a fake Bondi thing going on.
How do you feel like those skills have helped you in life now as well?
So many X. I don't actually know where I'd be without surf lifesaving. It just helped me, I think, develop as a person, build my confidence, and just all the different skills you get in it and the people you meet. Because I wouldn't have said, as a kid, I was, I think before surf lifesaving, or even when I was a surf lifesaver, I wouldn't say that I was overconfident in front of people. But I think being involved and just having all those experiences and developing all those skills, you know. It's just nuts. So
skills
I think it's had a lot to do.
living
100%. 100%. I think all kids should have to, if you live near the beach or, you know, on the coast, you should definitely have to do some element of it. Because it teaches you so much.
Yeah. Considering 80% of the population of Australia surrounds like the coastline, it's pretty interesting. I grew up about half an hour away from the beach, so we never didn't do nippers or anything, but like school always had a program that once a year would go and do like an aquatics day and kind of do all that kind of thing, or we'd do it in the pools locally and stuff. So you still get those kind of skills which help you.
Yeah. There needs to be more of it now.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. Like back to the Bondi rescue thing, you see so many people. It's so easy to get stuck in a rip and people don't know what to do.
No, they really underestimate Mother Nature. Like they just have no idea about surf and currents and rips and yeah.
What's your hot tip to anybody who doesn't swim in the ocean? Coming from like a triathlon background as well, a lot of people are starting to transition into an ocean swim. Is there any tips you could give them to the best way to get in the ocean to swim?
Yeah, like there's so many different open water, like even on the coast here. There's a group that goes out 3 times a week, just at Arawa there. Yeah. So I would just suggest if you live near beach, like within an hour, have a look what's happening in your local area and then try and access those people so you can do it in a safe way. Yeah. That's probably the biggest thing, like getting the practice, but in a safe way. And if you are training on your own and you are at the beach, making sure someone knows where you are and having someone else nearby, it's not worth the risk. And you know, anything can happen in a split second in the water. So,
Yeah, we like to say if you're going out for an open water, either do it with somebody or get somebody like on a kayak or a stand-up paddleboard next to you.
Yeah.
Because the oceans in SA, it's kind of like comes in the coast, and so most of the local beaches, like the water is flat unless you go out to about an hour and a half away to where the waves are. So you can do that kind of thing. But back to Ninja Warrior, I saw you competed. When was your time and how did you get into that?
Ninja Warrior was so random. So I was actually on the first season of Ninja Warrior in 2000. I started doing obstacle racing like towards the end of 2013, literally just saw an event and went, I'm going to give that a crack. And then I think 2014, 2015, 2016, we went to overseas and did obstacle course world championships.
Wow. Can you just explain to the people who are listening what that is?
So obstacle course racing is like a mix of trail running and Ninja Warrior and a little bit of strongman all thrown in together.
So pretty similar to like a True Grit event, but just a lot wilder.
Yeah, exactly. So True Grit over here is what's called an obstacle race or Spartan. With the World OCR events, they have a lot more hectic obstacles. So they put in big rigs where there's a lot of hanging elements and just the obstacles are bigger and harder, basically, at the World Champion. And the terrain's normally really different to anything we've got over here. So, yeah. But that pretty much got me into Ninja Warrior because when I was racing and doing obstacle course racing overseas, I used to watch Ninja Warrior. And I mean, when I first started obstacle course racing, I couldn't even do a chin up. Like to do one chin up, I was like, I'm never going to be able to do this. And, you know, now I can punch out heaps of them, which is awesome. But that's kind of where I started. I had no idea I couldn't do a rope climb. And then through doing obstacle course racing, I started developing these skills and strengths and then obviously competing at world championships. And then, meeting American Ninja Warriors and watching that. So when it sort of came to Australia, I was like, I'm going to give it a crack and see if I can get on the show. So it was a really cool experience. Like, just loved it. It was awesome.
Were you on the first series with Nathan Riles from SA?
Yeah, the very, very first one.
Yeah, he's been on the podcast a couple of episodes as well and talked about how crazy the first series was.
It was nuts. So there was a lot of unknown, I think. And we were in Sydney and it was like I think it's called Cockatoo Island. It's just off Sydney there. And I think the way it worked is each night there was 50 contestants and they always did the filming at night. And so you only ever saw the 50 people you were with. And I think the filming was done over five nights. But out of the 250 people that actually got to run the course, they only actually showed on television 50 contestants.
Oh, right.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of people didn't get any airtime or anything on
Yeah.
the actual show. But it was really cool experience, because your family members kind of came over and they were in the audience, and it was awesome. It was really different.
What did you kind of like, how did you train for an event like that? Obviously, you obstacle racing, you were doing around the same time, but did you have to modify anything going into Ninja Warrior?
Yeah, I had to drop weight. Like I had to literally get as lean as I could because I don't run naturally lean, I don't think. Like my
Yep.
body tends to like a little bit, to hang on a little bit. So, and just hanging. I mean, even in our house, we had a pegboard, we had a like a rock hanging wall. We've just painted the house. Everything's come down. But yeah, I mean, we've still got all in the walkways of the house and stuff, like chin up bars and just like hangboards, like grip strength. But training wise, like the one thing that I had to add was just the rock climbing and the hanging. So actually going to rock climbing gyms and just, learning different, I guess, grabbing techniques and things like that, just to develop like your forearm strength and your upper body strength.
How long or going on did you kind of get notified that you were going and start training for it?
I can't really remember. I think it was like you had a bit of a build up because obviously there was like a process. So you went and you did the testing. So the testing was all around Australia. And then from that testing, you got a call and then they do an interview.
Yeah.
And then after the interview process, I think there was I can't remember if there was another round of testing or not. But so you had a fair bit of time. Like you knew you were going for it. Going to apply for it and go to the fitness testing. And then from that, you kind of knew when the series was. But it wasn't, I just remember getting the call to do it. And I know it wasn't like a huge amount of time from when they said, hey, you're going to be on the show. It might have been 3 weeks because it was all hush hush as well. Yeah. Yeah. So like you weren't allowed to tell anyone. You could tell your immediate family, and then obviously you could bring people along. But it was all done quite structured.
It's interesting what goes on behind the scenes of those kind of TV shows. Like from sitting at home and watching that, you would never realize this all went down.
No. And the amount that goes into it. So on the flip side of that, I don't know if you remember the Spartan series that came out on Channel 7.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So I applied to go on that in an all-girls team, but because I'd done Ninja Warrior and I was still within there's a certain contract with Channel 9 and Channel 7 and stuff, I couldn't compete on it. But I actually got a job as a test dummy. So I was, so that was really interesting.
Big news time. We have a big brand new sponsor for the Wellness League podcast. So, can you guess who it is?
Hi, I'm Lana from Live and Breathe Active or LAB, a small family-run business run by a group of passionate people that, we live and breathe this shit. Whether it's run, swim, cycle or try, we make gear to get you through those tough training sessions. We help you get up before sunrise and we will still be there with you well after sunset. You will see us before you hear us with bespoke prints designed by artists just for you. We are driven by our values and are focused on performance and community. And we are super proud to be partnering with the Wellness League podcast in the Try series. Find out more or shop online at liveandbreatheactive.com. We can't wait to have you as part of the crew.
How good is that, hey? Discount codes and the link will be in the bio. But you know what? Let's go back to the pod. So back onto this adventure racing, how are you training for this kind of stuff? As in the orienteering, how do you train for that? But obviously you've got to keep that long distance, but then a certain amount of strength as well.
Yeah, so it depends on what events you're really focusing on, obviously, because if you're going to go into a 9-day race, you need to make sure you're getting like time on your legs, or I guess time in your arms for kayaking, or time in seat for your bike as well. So it's making sure like on the weekends in a long race that you're including some of those 8-hour plus sessions. So it's not necessarily working hard and fast. It's about just putting your body under that like ongoing sort of strain. And then the other thing that I found really helpful is just always carrying a pack with weight in it. So even now, like I've got 3 dogs, my training buddies. that I walk every single morning, no matter what. And even because one of my dogs is a bit older now. And so in the mornings, we only do about a 3K walk, but I always have anywhere from 4 kilos to 12 kilos in a pack on my back. So that way your body's just used to carrying weight and being under load for longer periods by incorporating some of that longer stuff. Yeah, the training's quite tricky. I guess, like if you think about an Ironman event, if someone does an Ironman event or even a triathlon, you've got to train multiple disciplines and it's all about just getting your load up to what you need for that event. So same sort of thing. Yeah. And then as you get older, managing injuries.
And of course, that recovery as well definitely comes into a factor there too. I think same with triathlon. Your body's was never made to go under this kind of load. So you've really got to, like we said in the Try Me series that just went out on Friday, that like same with running, you need to literally prehab so you never have to rehab.
Exactly. Yeah. And I never used to, like in my 30s, I just never used to like recover. I don't think, like it just wasn't a thing. I'd always be on the go. And even like living with acreage, like there's always stuff to do. But since I've turned, because I'm turning 3 this year, and the last 2 years, like I can honestly say that like my training has really shifted. So now I have to listen to my body and I really have to make sure I'm looking after it.
Yeah.
I think when you're young, you take it for granted and you kind of just smash it a fair bit. And then all of a sudden you can't recover as quick as you used to. So recovery is so important.
Absolutely. And so in these kind of events, what do you do in terms of nutrition? Say like some of the difference between like a 6-hour event and a multi-day event. How are you carrying and what are you consuming?
So most of my nutrition is always as like fresh as best, The difference is like for a 6-hour, like you can get away with a lot more. Like you can chuck a couple of bananas in and they're not going to be squished in 6 hours. And, you can still, like I still try and use some gels as well for shorter races just because they're convenient and easy, but I do use more natural gels. And then for the longer events, you still want whole foods. You still want more natural foods, but they need to be able to digest easily and they need to be nutritious. For multi-day events, my go-to is baby food.
Oh, right.
Organic food, because what's in them is obviously it's already processed. They're in a little squeezy pack, so they're really easy to carry. They're great on a kayaking leg because obviously when you're kayaking, you have to use your arms. That's the other thing about adventure racing is depending on the leg you're in, depends on will also kind of dictate your nutrition because you're not going to have like a freezy dried meal while you're doing a 100K kayak. You just can't do it. You're not going to stop and use that time.
You have like a hydration pack on your back with like a carb mix put in?
Yeah, so whether it's trail brew, but in the kayak leg, I always try and have in my pack, try and have some sort of mix, but also have normal water as well. So just like a bottle of water. And then with the kayaking, just have something you can squeeze and eat or throw in your mouth and chuckle, to chew on, and rather than something that you've got to peel and mess around with. And having a mix of foods is really important, different textures, which might sound really weird, but you just don't want the same thing. I know I did a race with a fella once and a really fit guy, and he rocked up with up and goes and muesli bars. And we had to do a 100-hour race. And, he, within the first, I think it was 8 hours or 10 hours, it was quite early on in the race, he just went downhill really bad. And then all of us as a team were just feeding him the whole time, like just eat this, eat that. And it was lots of bits of different stuff.
Yeah, so, that's crazy.
But and just having a variety of things and eating constantly.
Yeah,
so,
I think
making sure that you're eating.
Any endurance sport, I think you can be so fit, but if you don't get your nutrition right and your intake, like that could be all and end all everything.
100%. And as soon as you're hungry or thirsty,
that's what your mind thinks
you're fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah.
You can't let yourself. You should never ever be hungry or thirsty. That should be like in a longer race, that should be a rule.
How did you train your stomach to be able to intake food while you're under so much load as well? I find that's such a big thing too.
Yeah, lots of people really struggle with that. I think it's something you just have to do. I just don't think about it. I think for me, it's like, well, if that's what I've got to do, I do it.
Yeah.
And it's doing it when you're training. You can't just go into a race and think you'll be able to feel your body. You have to do it every day. I mean, I'm pretty lucky. I have a pretty cast iron gut, but I know some people that just can't fuel properly or enough when they're competing. And I don't know how they do it, to be honest, because, if I've got a race, I normally eat 2 hours beforehand, whether it's porridge or toast with something on it, or whatever it is. And then I just constantly fuel. Even right before the race, I'm always eating half a banana. And then even once the race starts, a long race, I'll be fueling every 20 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
So I do feel for those people that can't do that.
Yeah.
Because without fuel, you can't move.
Yeah, exactly. And so your recovery after these insane events, what are you doing? Well, obviously, as you're learning now to recover better, but say after a multi-day event, how are you looking after your body when you finish?
Eating really good as soon as is really important. So just getting the nutrients back in your body, because often after a race, you me personally, a lot of the time you'll sort of crave crappy foods.
Yeah.
Whether it's chips or burgers or pizza or whatever you're into. But I tend now, it's really weird. After multi-day races, the main thing I'm craving is a salad sandwich. All I want to eat is a big, huge salad sandwich. And I think it's just that freshness. But, I think having that food intake and making sure it's good quality food, nutritious food, as soon as really helps. And then just getting as much sleep as you need, listening to your body, keeping warm, and just taking that time, after a multi-day event, a 9-day race, it can take your body a month sort of come back, even longer sometimes, depending how hard, I guess, you hit yourself during that time. But just listening to your body. And for me, it's more around, I guess, active recovery. So I don't stop doing everything.
Just keep moving, but in a lighter load.
Yeah. I mean, there's days when I've done a race and the next day I haven't even been able to. I've had the worst DOMs that I could barely walk up and down the hills here. And that's okay. I'll walk halfway and I'll stop and I'll sit and ponder the world for a while and then I'll get up. But it's about moving, just about moving comfortably.
Yeah. So what's next?
But
Where's
Gary,
your next?
I was just going to say, Gary just got me an ice. So we had a chest freezer. And so I've been doing ice bathing morning and night.
So good.
So good. And still trying to work out the temperature because it'll be 0 one day and then, I'll turn it off for a few days. And at the moment, I think it's around 8. But I'm finding that really helpful as well as I've gotten older. So that's nice.
I've done that for
my next
a while now. I kind of every Saturday afternoon, Saturday's normally my rest day because just the way I get everything done on a Saturday, and then Sunday's normally a long run leading into this Ironman. But I always go to the gym and they have it's not quite cold enough, but it's an ice bath, but then I'll jump in the sauna and the steam rooms in between, and it's crazy how much it helps your muscles to be able to keep going.
It really does. I never I was a bit optimistic about it at the beginning. I was I don't know. But it definitely helps. It definitely helps.
Are you a person who has to listen to something while you're in there, or do you just jump in and think about the world's problems?
I jump in and I watch the clock.
Yeah.
How long? And I try and breathe and I try and count. I still haven't managed to get my whole upper torso in.
Yeah.
I've probably been doing it for a month now.
Yeah.
I probably do need to put something on to take my mind off it.
Honestly, it's so helpful. Even though I listen to a few podcasts while I'm doing my recovery sesh, and it really helps.
Okay. I will try that. From now on rather than sit there and clock watching.
The Wellness League pod actually really helps, apparently. It's been tried and tested.
I'll definitely try that next time.
So back to a sliding door moment in your life where you've kind of turned left or right and it's changed the progression of your future.
Probably just taking that first step to do an obstacle course race.
Yeah.
I've always thought I was pretty fit and healthy, but taking that first step to do that race, and then from there, the people I've met and the course of my life, you know, like the obstacle racing, the adventure racing, the trail running, even down to my own wellness. It's just changed everything. You know, like I think back to racing my first race in Ohio over at World Champs.
Mhm.
I was on a team and I raced with Deanna Blake, who's a very well-known adventure and obstacle course racer.
Yeah.
And like we're really good mates now, but her influence and meeting her has changed so much of my life. And that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for taking that first step and just going, I'm going to go and give this a crack, you know?
Yeah.
That was probably the big sliding door moment.
Do you follow like a program when it comes to training, or do you just do what you feel like needs to be done before the next race?
Now I kind of do what I feel needs to be done, but I still seek advice.
Yep.
When I first started, Tim was actually my coach.
Oh,
So,
cool.
you know, so when I first started doing OCR, he used to meet with me after the OCR training sessions and we'd sit down and he'd just help me and talk about what I needed to do. And yeah, he was pretty much my first coach that I'd ever had as an adult, I guess.
It's funny that you say that because at this moment right now, he's actually doing an adventure race. He's doing GoMac in Queensland.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, literally. I just saw it
that.
on Instagram just before we started. His wife and said he was on the start line. I was like, oh, what are the chances?
I know, that's so weird. I'll have to see how he goes. That'd be interesting.
Even that race sounded really cool. It's because I had them on the podcast earlier in the season and he was talking about this race. I think it's like a mountain bike paddle into a road ride and there's a run, maybe a trail run. I think there's one more event in there too.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but it sounded so fun.
Yeah. That's adventure racing. It is fun, and anyone can do it.
Yeah. Hang on, back to your next event.
Okay, so my next event is a Search for Hurt event, and it is actually a Red Bull event. So the Search for Hurt team got invited to do a Red Bull event called Chase the Sun or Race the Sun. So it's a team event. It starts at Surfers Paradise and it finishes at Tenterfield. So it's about 370 Ks.
Wow.
It's got 6 Ks at elevation.
Yep.
And you've got 24 hours in a team of 6 to do it, which when you work out, you have to maintain at least a 4K pace.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So do you need to walk it over the finish line or you do it in sections?
No, you'll be tag teaming out every between 1 and 3K.
Okay.
And when you get out, you'll just be sprinting because the elevation is crazy in it. So there's lots of really slow sections. So anywhere that you've got downhill or flats, it'll just be flat stick. There was only one team that finished it last year.
Wow.
So yeah, like fingers crossed, you know, we get to that finish line, but who knows?
And
it's a huge
is
event.
Made up of how many people and how many of each gender?
So there's 6 people in the team. You have to have, I'm pretty sure the rules are you have to have at least 2 females, but we've got 3 females and 3 males.
Yeah, nice.
So.
Yeah, is your partner also on your team?
No. Ari and I don't race together. We do stuff together, but we don't race together as a team.
Right, fair enough.
But,
so once you finish and tag team, how do you get from where you finish your tag to the next spot? Is there like cars or transport involved where you meet them again?
Yeah, so you've got 2 vans. So each team has 2 vans and you're just literally logistically just having to work it out as you go.
Okay,
with obviously your runners and your vans and everything. So there's a lot of logistics involved. Gary's actually driving one of the vans, so it should be interesting.
He's involved, just not officially on the racing team.
Yeah.
And so when's this race again?
It's in 3 weeks, so it's at the end of May.
Yep.
Yeah, and then after that I've got High Rocks. I'm hoping to get down to Melbourne and do my first High Rocks event. So really different. Yeah.
It's like True Grit without the crap in between.
Kind of. Yeah, it's kind of like a CrossFit. Yeah, it's kind of like CrossFit and True Grit kind of combined, I guess. But yeah.
Have you done
after that
before? Other than obviously your training?
Yeah, I've done little bits. I wouldn't say like in terms of the technical stuff with the Olympic bar and the technical movements and things like I'm not great at. But I've done little bits within the training because it's good training, CrossFit. It is good strength training. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, your next one after that was?
After that is another 9-day adventure race. So this year I'm actually doing what's called the AR Expedition Race in Australia. It's very much like God's Own. They've kind of just changed the name because God's Own is no longer, unfortunately. But I'm doing an all-female team. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, right.
So there's 4 females in my team, and we'll have 9 days of adventure racing. It's in Bright in Victoria, so it's going to be very hilly, very challenging. There's going to be lots of pack rafting. That's going to be a big, big race. It's in October.
Is this during the snow season as well? So it'll be pretty cold out there?
I really hope not.
God.
I haven't been told that.
Right.
Knowing I might die.
When were you doing it? What time of the year?
October.
Okay, so it's like the end of this, because Bright is literally the bottom of Falls Creek and Hotham.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I have been there before.
You should be all right, because I think the snow season at the latest time it normally goes to is early September. Worst case, it will not be super cold.
I hope not.
So in a sport like this, do you have any sponsors that kind of help you either with your equipment or get to the start, really?
I have more what you can call them sponsors or ambassadorship, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some really good people that has been involved since I started doing obstacle racing. So Moxie Gear,
yes.
Darren Clark with Moxie Gear. So that's like shin gaiters and shoe covers to keep the mud out of your feet and also protect your shins. Mm-hmm. And then Turbo Superfoods, which is a very, nutrition product through Amanda Steedle. It's an all natural product is what sort of sold it to me. But she does obviously an electrolyte, a performance and recovery powder, immune and body boost type powder. And then she's just started, not that I probably should mention this because it's a trial at the moment, but she's just done a protein powder, which I think is amazing. And I'm hoping she does sell it. And then who else is there? So Bleg Mitt, which is these things that you wear over your hands to keep your hands warm, kind of like a wetsuit for your hands, which is really important for obstacle racing and adventure racing. And then also Safe Lace, which is a very small company down south. Loretta, her name is. And they're just these little things you put over your laces where your shoes don't come untied.
Oh, smart.
And then I guess they're the people that have always supported me and I support them back. They've been amazing throughout our journeys. Yeah.
So for people wanting to start this kind of sport or to watch it, where would you suggest starting?
I just think have a look at the events going on in your area. There's a website, I think it's called Running Events, or if you just Google search obstacle course racing or adventure racing or, in your area and have a look what's in your area and just go and do one. Even a trail run. If you've never done a trail run, just go and do one. Just because it's a community alone, you meet really cool people. You don't have to be the top at anything, but for adventure racing and obstacle racing, just see what's in your local area and don't be afraid to just go and do one. If you're in Queensland, you can look up Tiger Adventure. There's a big group sort of Brisbane based. There's also Try Adventure, which is more north side, but there's heaps of different clubs and different groups that you can just find by jumping on Facebook. And then don't be afraid to PM people. Be like, hey, I'm interested in this sport. Who can you connect me with? Because especially with adventure racing, it's a team-based sport. And so lots of people are looking to be on teams, and there's lots of people out there creating teams all the time to get people involved.
Yeah, definitely. Or follow you or Tim and Amanda because they post a lot about these kind of things too.
Yeah, definitely. That's another good way.
They're such a great couple. I met them through a friend showing me their YouTube just before Christmas, and then I got in contact with them and got them on the pod. And literally, so many guests that I've had on now are literally links through them. I said to Amanda, you literally need to be my PA now, just bringing the guests in.
That's so true, but they're just beautiful people.
Yes.
For me to meet Tim all those years ago, and we've kind of always stayed connected and just a genuine people. They genuinely want to help. And even now, just recently, I went over to WA and I had to do a off-road tri Xterra. And
you do it with
straight away when I looked at the water temp and little bits, I reached out straight to I don't know who Hannah Young is.
She was the girl who was on the last pod who's also friends with them.
Okay, I think Amanda mentioned Hannah. She mentioned another girl as well.
Okay.
Because I was with the Search for Hurt crew, we literally just get flown in, dropped, and then literally when I crossed the finish line, we were put into a van and we had to go and do an obstacle course race. The day before, we did a powerlifting comp. So we had a powerlifting comp. Yeah, it was nuts. So we did a powerlifting comp on the Saturday. The X-Terra was Sunday morning and an obstacle course race on the Sunday afternoon. But back to Amanda and Tim. So even with doing the off-road try, I messaged Amanda. I'm like, hey, I'm doing this off-road try. Do I have to wear a wetsuit? I'm like, the water temp says it's like 18 to 22. Like, what's the go? Should I be wearing a wetsuit or not? And she just was like, I'll find out. I'll find through someone. And she went and chatted to someone, and then she came back and she sent me a link to the wetsuit and sent me all this information. And
so good.
They're just lovely, they're lovely people. So good. But there's people like that in all, I find there's people like that throughout all the communities of sports that I've met. So
yeah,
it's just about reaching out to people. Don't be afraid to ask.
It's crazy, yeah, because she's so knowledgeable, especially Tim as well, that I was like, I had a few people ask me to start like a triathlon series on how to get into the sport and even to help people progress higher or from the small distance up. And I said to Amanda, will you help me do it? And yeah, it's going great. She is so full of knowledge and it's cool. Yeah, such a good series now on the side of the pod. But crazy how you meet people through sport.
Definitely. And their channel's so good. And they're into they love finding out lots of little bits and sharing that. I've often thought about sharing it, but I just never remembered a video. It's so much involved that you don't realise.
Yeah. Good. Is there anything else you want to add before we get on to the fun stuff?
No, I think I've said, the main thing I just wanted to put out there to people is, just don't be afraid to give it a crack and don't be afraid to reach out to people because it's the only way you ever know.
Yeah.
So, and there's so much out there.
All right. So what are you consuming at the moment in terms of podcasts, TV shows, books, movies?
It's really tricky because I think because we've had so much rain recently, I've just been whippersnipping or mowing. And I was thinking about this because I did used to read a fair bit, but more recently, honestly, I haven't been watching or tapping into much at all. I've been too busy, and I know that sounds bad, but I literally haven't. I'm like, all right, I need to start getting back into that because it's good for your soul.
Your podcast is the tune of the whippersnipper.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
The best part of the podcast is called 5 Fast Questions. The numbers are in between number 1 and 20. It's the first thing that comes to your mind after you pick a number. You just spit the answer out. It's super fun.
It's okay.
So your first number?
3.
Number 3. If you could go back to a month in your life, when, where, and why?
A month?
Yeah.
Good. It's such a hard question.
The first thing that comes to mind.
I'm meant to give a quick answer and I'm stuffing out really bad. Really, Christmas time. I love Christmas time because I'm on holidays. So there you go.
How do you fit in working around everything?
My day starts at 3 a.m.
Okay.
So I get up at 3 and then my dogs take an hour. And then I normally train between an hour and 2 hours in the morning. And then I'm an hour at work. And then I'm at work because I'm a school teacher.
Yep.
So I'm at work all day. And then I'm normally home again by 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And then I train normally again in the afternoon. Sometimes I don't. I've learnt that if I'm not feeling the energy levels, I just don't anymore and I do stuff around here. And then, it's bed 6:37.
Yeah, but with the Queensland sunlight, that almost sounds perfect.
Yeah, in summer it is. In summer it is good. The sun's up at 4, so.
Yeah. All right, your next number.
13.
Okay, number 13. If you were stuck on an island, what's 3 items you're taking with you?
3?
Yeah.
Did you say 3?
Yep.
Okay, 3. Rope?
Yep.
A machete, a big knife thing so I can slice stuff up with.
Yeah.
And am I allowed to say my dogs?
They could at least get you some food.
Keep me company and happy.
And warm, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, next number.
17.
Okay, number 17 is your favourite car. So, if you had an unlimited amount of money, what would you buy?
A little 4B. So probably a Jeep. I had a Suzuki Swift and loved, not Suzuki Swift, what was it called? Suzuki Vitara, little box one, and just loved it. Used to go everywhere, little 4-wheel-drive. So yeah, probably a Jeep.
Oh, good. All right, next number.
8.
Okay, number 8 is 3 things that make you happy.
Oh, my dogs. My dogs.
Yeah.
My dogs. No, my
Each one
dogs,
of them.
chocolate and beer. My dogs, chocolate and beer.
Sorry to your partner, but
Yeah, I know.
oh, funny. And last number.
Number 2.
Okay, number 2 is coffee with somebody dead or alive. Who are you having it with?
My mum.
Oh, that's so nice.
Just my mum. Yeah. No, I love my mum.
Cute. All right, thank you so much
And
for your
she's still
time
alive,
today.
so.
What I was going to say. Thank you so much for your time today. It was quite interesting to learn about the sport of adventure racing and crazy obstacle course racing, and we'll be following along. I'll tag your Instagram stuff in the show notes so people can follow your journey.
No worries. Sounds great. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. How knowledgeable was Laura, starting off her early years as a little nipper and taking that throughout her whole life. Just amazing what goes on Ninja Warrior to this adventure racing. It sounds so cool. Off the beaten track and taking adventure to its max. A big thank you for Live and Breathe for sponsoring this podcast. I've been testing out their running shorts and believe it or not, they are amazing. I have had so many problems with chafing with shorts and especially with running. And ever since I've got my Live and Breathe shorts, I've never had a problem. So go and buy yourself a pair at TWLPOD15. That will also be in the show notes. That's Live and Breathe. You know what? While you're there, why don't you go and check out the Try Me series this Friday? We will be talking everything bike maintenance. We've teamed up from Tim from TriFit to show us the best way to keep your bike in its best shape for training and racing. Why not go and check out last week's running episode? It was so good. Well, thank you for listening today. Much appreciate you staying around. Hope you enjoyed this pod. Please share it with a friend. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and don't forget to go and follow us on all of our social media pages at the Wellness League Pod. And if you want more of me, at discovering_ET. And, come back next week and listen to some more. Have a wonderful day. Have the best week, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.